just to kind of give you an overview of what we're going to try to cover today. First, we're going to meet the team. We're going to go over credit return procedures, repair procedures, talk about what falls under warranty, some order processing details, the lead times, RFQs for some engineered things, and then at the end, I'm going to try to go through some helpful websites for you to give you some tips on what to cover. This is kind of just a brief overview, kind of to give some suggestions on, how you can help us better help you. If you can, we give you some tips that can hopefully free some time for us to work on some of the more difficult questions you have. So let's start off by meeting the team. At the top, you see our hours of support. So anytime from 7:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, there's going to be one of us here to pick up the phone. Usually, more than one of us. We usually always try to keep at least two people on the phones during lunches and stuff. So there's always at least two of us here. But the majority of the time, there's 4 to 6 of us here. That is Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in California or out west, you may want to try to plan your time accordingly if you need to get a hold of us. The team members, you see kind of a diagram on there. First is Henry Shaughnessy. He's the customer service manager. He handles the aquatics, the e-quote support, along with the rest of the below 5 people, which can be a handful of time. He's been with Prominent for 6 years, and he recently took over being the manager. You see below that, there's me. I handle Tony Corrales, John Strack, and Greg Campbell. So if you have any of those people as your sales reps, you would want to contact me for any questions, along with the other people you see who they support. And we ask that you try to go to those people for your questions. That way we kind of get used to you guys out there, and we kind of know the environment you're in and some of the particulars that may be a little special about your region. Phone number's there, and email you can contact me at. Next is Angela Moore. She is our customer support senior specialist. She handles the global CV vendors along with G. Harrison and Paul Breen. You have her phone number and email address. She's been with us for about 13 years, so she has a lot of experience in some of the niche items we have, and she can help a lot with some of the very special requests we have. David Cipolloni's next. He handles Tom Miller, Jeff Drapo, and Dan Helms. You have his phone number and email there if you want to contact him. He's been with Prominent for about 7 years. He started in the back actually building the Gamma L pumps. And he has some experience with the Betas and the Deltas. And then after that, he moved on to building systems. So he has a lot of experience with maybe some of the little particulars and some of the systems you need figured out. If you need some replacement parts, he can help with that. Again, his phone number and email is there. Feel free to contact him if you need any help. Next, you have Raphael. He's been with us for about 9 months. He's fluent in Spanish, so he can handle a lot of our people down in Mexico and stuff who speak Spanish, and can help with that. He also does international accounts, which works well, and he does the Dalco Flex pumps. He came from a competitor who specialized in peristaltic pumps, so he knows a lot of particulars in application data of that stuff, so he can help a lot with that. His phone number and email are also there. Next is the newest member, Cody. He's been with us for about 6 months. He started in the back in receiving, then he moved to order entry, and he's with us now. He's picking things up pretty quick. He handles Etienne, Ron Duda, and Pam Simmons. So if you guys out there have any questions and he supports you guys out there if you have any of those regionals. Next, let's talk about credit return procedures. Basically, what we ask before you even contact us is from whoever's trying to return something, you get the sales order number or the PO number. That way, we have a record of what you're trying to return when it comes back to us. So what we recommend is you send us an email That seems to work the best. That way we have some sort of record of what's going on. Because usually what I do is I'll create the paperwork and attach it to the email. I'll also put the RMA number on there. That way, if any questions come up, I can refer back that email. Seems to work out very well. Also, we like to have a reason for why you're returning something for credit. You know, was it just ordered incorrectly? Was it wrong for the application? Just so we know why we're trying to process things. So what you usually do once you have your sales order number or PO number, you contact your CSD support person, which we just covered in the last slide. Once you do that, we will create the RMA paperwork. We usually email it back out to you. And then once you have that paperwork, there's actually a paper in there that you will need to fill out showing that is new and there's no chemicals in it. And you will attach that to the outside of the box. And then we also recommend you, on the outside of the box, put that RMA number real big so we know what it's for. And those items should be received by us in new and unused condition. We definitely need that number on the box, because if we get 100 boxes a day back there, and if it doesn't have anything associated with it, it usually will just sit back there until somebody calls in a couple months later. And sometimes we're lucky and we can't find it. A lot of times it just kind of gets lost in the back. So how much credit will be issued? Standard restocking is 25%. That covers a lot of our processing needs. Just to give you an idea, to start off the process, I get the request to create the RMA, then it's sent out to you. Once it comes in the building, it's not actual credit return yet. So receiving will get it, and they'll send us an email to create the actual credit return. So once we create the credit return, we go back to receiving, and then they pass that on to our inspector to make sure it is actually new and unused, and we can actually put it back into stock. So once that is verified, it gets passed, the part gets passed back to whoever needs to put it back, and then the paperwork actually goes to our accounting department where they approve the credit. So it does have to actually touch a couple hands. So that's, to cover our cost of actually returning things. And that can be waived at a manager's discretion. We know there are certain special circumstances where, things do happen, and we can waive that based on the sales rep or manager here. Who pays the freight? We get a question a lot about who's going to pay the freight back for repairs and credit returns. Usually that's the responsibility of the customer. They can pay the freight for us, and then under special circumstances, we can make other arrangements to cover that cost if there is the need for that. You normally just call into us at CSD, and then we can either try to verify that through a sales rep or a manager to see what route we actually want to go. Just a couple notes I have here on top of that. We recommend you actually call into one of our techs first before you send something back to us. A lot of times it is little things. You may have loose liquid end bolts. You may have some leaking, and they do tend to loosen up if you don't regularly tighten them. Could just be spare parts kit you need. So if you just call in, we can kind of verify that. Our tech guys are here too on the phones. So it's free. Just call in and they can run through the scenario real quick and make sure it is something we actually want to get back. Yeah, sorry. Okay. And that's what's next. So what is needed for repairs? We ask before you contact anybody here, you try to get the serial number and the model code off of the pump or the piece of equipment. That should be on everything that leaves serial number. Should have like a foil sticker on it. That helps us look up the equipment and keep track of everything. We also ask for a description of the symptoms of what's happening. We get a lot where people come and just say the pump won't pump, and that kind of makes it really hard on our technician to troubleshoot it when it says the pump just won't pump. If maybe you say there's a motor error or there's grinding in the motor, that kind of helps our technician pinpoint things when they come through the door. And it saves us time. We're not wasting a lot of time on unnecessary diagnosing of the error. So once you have this information, you can contact your CSD rep, and you give them the serial number and the reason for repair. We'll send you out in an email the RMA paperwork. And I have the kind of a copy of it on the next slide so you can get an idea of what it looks like. But that gets issued. You fill out the contaminant-free certification for the pump, making sure it is in fact flushed and there's no chemical. We're not equipped here to handle all these chemicals here, so they need to be flushed out so our repair technicians aren't, unexpectedly splashed with something in the event that there is still a little bit in the liquid end of the pump. So that's very important. You want to fill that out, put it on the outside of the box, and also write the RMA number on there, and then you can send it back to us. Again, like I was saying on the return procedure, you want to first call our techs just to make sure that it's something we recommend you send back. It's not something we can fix real quick by a spare parts kit or tightening the head bolts or running through some sort of scenario to try to fix it real quick. Also, definitely make sure the pumps are flushed. You can be fined for any type of leaks if it's on, because these things do sometimes go on airplanes. And if they see something leaking out of a box, they tend to, stop operation, and there could be some pretty dramatic fines based on that. And, no one wants any of that. Also, we will, if you need a box, we will actually send you out boxes if you do request them from us. Because we do a lot of pumps back that are just destroyed, and it's based on shipping them incorrectly. And I have some pictures to give you an idea of how some come back to us. Also, that RGA number for credit returns and repairs is only good for what you called in initially. You can't keep sending that in for, every pump you want to. It's not a universal number. Once it's processed, it's done for that pump you have on there. We do have some people who try to use it a lot for random things, and they come in and we have no clue what to do with them because they're already closed out. Again, typically on repairs, the freight is paid by the customer. If we find it to be covered under warranty, we will ship it back and cover that charge when it goes back out. There's a copy of the RGA paperwork you'll typically get from us. It should look familiar. The first page on the left, that's something you may want to keep in your records. That gives you the idea. You see the number, and we kind of live by that number, that RGA number. So if you call in to us and you say, I need you to check on this repair, it's for nuclear power plant, we're not going to really find anything unless we have that RGA number. You see that there. Also, there'll be the reason for the return there. So you can kind of keep that for your records, and when we send you a quote, you can know what it's for. The next page in the middle that's kind of covered up, that is the one that should go to your customer or whoever's returning the pump. That gives you an explanation of how the pump should come back to us. It gives you a procedure of what we need done before it comes into us. And then the one to the right is the one that should be filled completely out and sent back to us. We get a lot of pumps back with just RGA numbers on them and not this paperwork. And we really have no clue what's in it. It can be kind of dangerous for our techs and our repair guys when they try to dig into these pumps. We definitely need that returned with it. Our receiving guys can technically not receive these if they don't have that paperwork. They can send it back because it's not very safe for them to be handling these and digging into their boxes. Here's some pictures, some repairs we've had come back, if you can look at them. The first group on the left is actually a Sigma 2 Basic. That pump's going to weigh about 30 to 40 pounds with that motor, and it's substantially a pretty decent sized pump. You can see they packed it just in some packing peanuts, and there actually wasn't enough to even fill the box. And you can see how the foot housing on the pump in the bottom left picture actually completely snapped off. And then you can also see they shipped it with the oil plug in it, the vent. It looked like it was open or it had come open in shipping. You could see oil leaked out all over the place, all over the pump. So, if that leaks out enough on the airplane or something, they're going to shut things down, and there can be a substantial fine based on that. We ship all our pumps with a black plug, usually in that area, so they can't actually leak out. You're supposed to replace that once it's been filled with the vent. They should come back to us with that plug in there so they're not leaking oil out if they do have oil in them. One on the right is a Delta pump, a smaller pump, but it still can weigh, around 20 pounds. They had packed it just with two pieces of foam. You can see the foam inserts to the left and right of the pump. There nothing else was around it, so you can see how the housing is snapped in the back. And that's a pretty substantial repair when you get into that point. It's basically a new pump at that point for that housing. So these are some things we just try to prevent by completely packing these nice. And this isn't something we would cover. We can't cover shipping charges in broken items and shipping. We have a couple more. You can see the left pump. That is how it came to us in that box. Just crumbled up newspaper. It's that. So that pump was pretty far damaged. You see the results to the right. The front control hood was completely damaged. That needed complete replacement. That could be of substantial cost. That could be definitely prevented if, say, the pump only needed a spare parts kit or something, if we found that. Now it needs a complete front cover just because of shipping. I don't know if anybody's seen UPS, but they tend to throw these things around a lot, and they're not light. So they can, cause some substantial damage. The one on the bottom left shows you a pump that came back, and you can see how it is it's a pretty nasty looking pump. It has some sort of chemical on it, and it's all over it. And I don't know if we want to be handling something like that. We do get a lot of those back. We actually kind of maybe clean them up a little bit for us, so we're not handling that kind of stuff when you have it sitting around in the back. We're not equipped to handle these kind of chemicals here. So let's talk about warranty. Once that repair comes in, it comes in a building, it goes to Dean, who does the repairs. He will then determine if it's still under warranty, and here's what we base that off of. Pump drive units, you'll get 2 years on that. And then the liquid ends on those pumps are usually about a year, and accessories are usually a year, and you see your sensors and your controllers, your warranties there. If you need a complete warranty thing, there is one actually in our 2012 catalog. It's usually page 15, and it's to the right there, and you kind of see our legal jargon. I don't want to have to read all that, but it is there. If you need it, we can certainly send it out to you so you have a better idea of what is covered. And that is based on obvious signs of neglect and abuse will not be covered under those warranties. This is typically based on manufacturing defects, things that look wrong from us manufacturing the product. So the repair will come in. It goes to Dean. He either evaluates it for warranty or he'll send out a quote. And just to get the pump in here for evaluation, you're looking at about $90 and some odd change just for the evaluation, and then plus whatever additional parts you need that will also be quoted to you. And then we'll send the quote out to whoever requested the RGA. And if you decide it needs to be repaired, we'll need a PO for the actual cost of those parts. If you decide your customer wants it back, they will be responsible for just the inspection fee, that $90, and then we can also just scrap it, and you won't have to be charged with anything if we do scrap it. So let's go into next the order processing. We asked that the preferred method, all POs actually go to that email address, and our two order entry people in the back actually have access to that, and they pull the orders directly out of that. Next best would be a fax. We try to steer people away from that just because faxes are old technologies, and it's not exactly as reliable as, say, a email address would be. We do tend to lose those, even though on your end it may say that they were received on your machine. They do tend to kind of go out of nowhere. So we definitely would prefer the email address. Also, verbal POs are okay. We don't really recommend them just because you have a lot more chance of errors when you're trying to read off these long ident codes for pumps. M's and N's sound the same, B's and other letters. So they can be really easily mistaken. But I know we fully understand some of your guys are out in the fields, and that's how they need to do it. Is they don't have access, so we will take those. And we also ask you do not send POs directly to your CSD contact. It's all right to copy them on the email. I have some people out there that copy me on them, and I'll take a look at them real quick to see if anything needs to be addressed. But it's also mainly sent to that order entry group. Otherwise, if it's just sent to us and we're out for a day, it may just sit in our emails for a couple hours until we're back, or even a day or a couple days, depending on how long we're actually out. We do have in CSD something set up to where if one of us is out, you should get a kickback in your email saying we're out. We have an email address that will come over on that, saying that we're out, and all emails should be sent to that. We ask you copy us on that email so we know it was actually handled when we come back and we're going through our emails. That's the process we have set up. So when we're out, there's somebody actually there to handle some of these emails. Also, order confirmations and packing slips, we can set it up on your account for an email address to get those. So if someone's not receiving those right now, you can send us an email with who you want to get, and then we'll set that up so somebody gets all the order confirmations with tracking numbers and dates. That way you're not always having to call in for status updates. Let's talk next about some standard lead times. Our Gamma L, Beta, Delta, and Concept pumps are typically 3 to 4 days. For anything under 5, you're looking at about 3 to 4 days. Those are our solenoid smaller pumps. All of our pumps are made to order. We don't stock any on the shelf. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're out in the field and somebody's in a rush. We can expedite orders based on production, capacity. We're sometimes limited to what we can do. But we don't have an expedite fee. All we ask is that the POs come with a expedite shipping method like UPS overnight or second day or something like that. That way we can actually rush it through. So you have your Sigma series. You're looking at 5 to 7 days for anything, I think, 3 or below. Anything more than that, we usually have to get approved by production just to figure out what their capacity is. Promise is 2 to 3 weeks. That's based on we actually, completely assemble that pump here and paint the housings and bottom mountings. So that takes us some time. Falcon meters are about 3 to 4 days. If you want to get those mounted on a back panel, that's going to add a couple of additional days. Mount the DGMA and sensors and the controller on an actual back panel. There's your boiler cooling tower controllers, your Aegis, your PromTrack, Microflex, Multiflex. You're looking at about 5 days for all of those. Your aquatic controllers, your DCM2, about 2 to 3 days. Your DCM5, about 5 days. And then pre-engineered skids, that's about 2 to 5 weeks. It can really depends on production capacity at the time. And again, we can work with you if you need something. We can't really, it's hard for us to beat the 2 weeks just because we are fully assembling, not just the pumps, but the complete skid. That does take some time to assemble and test and get out the door. So 2 weeks is usually about the best we can do with those. Keep in mind, items we don't stock, so maybe some rare items. Germany does offer a lot of different products. We can't physically stock everything here. So the things that aren't in stock are going to take 4 to 6 weeks just because they do have to come overseas on a boat. So just keep that all in mind. Also, it's usually easier, just kind of rule of thumb, at the beginning of the month, it's a lot easier for us to expedite things. And in a month, we're trying to catch up on things and rush things out. So right now, being the last day of the month, we're pretty packed. It's not a very good chance of us getting the pump out pretty much today. Let's talk about some RFQs. You see a couple of them there. The one on the left is the Balcoflex, and Raphael would usually be quoting those. We kind of asked you fill that out for him. Just makes it a lot easier to pick out maybe some things he can catch in there that may seem a little fishy to him. You may need to look into a little more to make sure the pump's actually going to work. We have a couple other ones you can come to us. We have a custom systems RFQ. So if anything that's not handled under a PES system, that's our pre-engineered ones, you can find those on eQuote. If it's not handled under that, you'll need to fill out an RFQ form for our engineers. And I have on the middle picture. You can go on our website and actually go to the sales tab, and you can fill out a form on there. We do have a PDF you can actually fill out also. We can get that to you if you need it, and we can email that out. There's a couple other ones. We have chlorine dioxide one. We have a couple different ones based on the applications. Usually what happens is we request that's filled out. We'll send it, or you could send it over to one of the top email addresses. That's what our engineers look at to see what they need to quote. Once they grab it, it can take, depending on how complex the system is, it can take a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on the system. So just keep that in mind. If it's just for budgetary quote, that they can usually get that done pretty quick. But just make sure you allow yourself enough time when it needs to be something that's quoted custom. Moving on to some helpful websites, I thought I'd just add this, just maybe some things that may help you out. The first one was actually released last year. We were kind of before that stuck on the prominent.com website in Germany controlled that. We didn't really have any options. They offered a lot more of products that we just didn't have more in the US. So we do have our own website now. You can go on there, and there's a link that will actually get you to the prominent literature page. There's a link that will get you to eQuote. There's a link that will get you to some RFQ forms. There's a search bar. If you see that picture to the right, that search bar, you can search anything, and you can get cut sheets, PDFs of cut sheets, manuals. Everything should be on there. Next would be the prominent literature page. I strongly suggest you register for this. You can order hard copy catalogs. I get calls from people who are on catalogs from like 2007. So I mean, you can order a couple catalogs for everybody in your office. I strongly recommend you do that. Next would be eQuote, and I have a couple more slides just dedicated to these websites. There's Prominent eQuote. Once you go on there, you can register for it. There's a link at the bottom that tells you how to register, sign up, and Henry and our customer support actually approves, who has to come in. We kind of have it limited to distributors or CV reps. We don't really allow the end users on there. So just register and we'll get you on there. If you need any help navigating through that, we can also help you with that. There should be some PowerPoints and webinars based on that also. So you can go on to, if you go onto our website, type in videos, I believe all the webinars should come up. You can go through there and navigate through that website. Next would be the Prominent Literature page. You can either go to the website or you can navigate it through the sales tab on our website. You have to also register for that, and that will need to be approved. But once you get on there, you can order all kind of hard copies of cut sheets and everything. And that's in close. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask away.
Yes, I'm getting a lot of requests.
Yeah, we do get requests. The question was, do we get a lot of requests for end users to sign up? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, we do still get a lot. We don't really frown on it. We don't let them I'm not sure what we can do about that. It's going to happen.
On the website, so users go to the distributors. We want our distributors to be contact.
So Laura made a comment, if an end user might need any of the literature that we offer, they can still get that, but they should go to their distributor to get that. We would supply it to the distributor and they could ask them. There is one question online so far. It asked, when does the warranty start?
We usually, that's whenever the product leaves our door.
Okay. That's the typical. We do understand that we're dealing with a lot of municipal projects. And those municipal projects, they ship maybe a year before they're intended to be started up. So we're a little bit more lenient on those type of situations.